Right. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. And we are resuming what we've been learning for the last few days, namely in a book written by the first Rebbe of Chabad about 250 years ago. And he's explaining in a very personal and deep and practical and dynamic way what exactly the curses transformed into blessings. So it ends up the blessings that Bilam gave to the Jewish people that are written in the Torah, especially about Mashiach. That's the clearest blessings about Mashiach and what we're going to have to do and what's going to be in when Mashiach comes are came out of the mouth of this evil man, Bilam, which indicates that eventually the whole world will not just not oppose the Jewish people or not oppose this idea of Mashiach, and not make up false ideas about what Mashiach is, but the world will actually agree. They'll actually agree, and not only will they agree, they'll actually help us. They'll actually bless us. Like Bilam, who was the arch anti-Semite, he came to bless the Jewish people, the biggest blessings it could possibly be. So it would like be if the whole United Nations would stand up and make an official announcement, Chi Adonenu Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach L'Olam V'Oed. Long live the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach. Everybody's going to drop all their idolatry and do the 7 commandments of Noah, and all of them yell out, Amen, right? All around the world, Amen. Let's make this world a happy, positive, blessed world, right? Well, that's basically what Bilam showed was possible. And we'll see in the next class, we're going to learn how the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe showed not only is it possible, but it's also practical. It's also happening. But let's not go too fast. Okay. So said the Rebbe, there's a blessing that Bilam gave, and he said, let's go back to it. Let's go back to where it is. Ma tovo olech Yaakov. We start actually our prayer with this. Let's see. Ma tovu olech Yaakov. Let's see if we can get to this. Here we go. Here. Where is it? Where is it? Here. Ma tovu olech Yaakov. How good are your tents, Jacob? And then it says Mishkanetecha Yisrael, and your dwellings, Israel. That's what Bilam says. He looks at the Jewish people. He gets on this high place, this high sort of mountain, so you can see the whole entire Jewish camp. The whole entire thing must have been pretty high. So he looked and he sees all the Jewish people, and instead of saying, okay, whammy, just give them all a big curse, he wanted to get up on a high place so we would see them all and put an end to them. And suddenly he says, how beautiful are your tents, Jacob? How and pleasant are your dwellings, Mishkan, your dwellings. How pleasant. And then he starts pouring out these blessings. Okay. So what does this mean? How pleasant are how good are your tents? What's going on? And why does he use the name Shalom Herschel? Shalom. Why does he, when Bilam gives this blessing, why does he start up and says, how pleasant are your tents, Jacob, and your dwellings, Yisrael? Now, Yisrael and Jacob are the same person. That Jacob had a battle with this angel, and he defeated the angel. And he didn't, well, in any case, he was not defeated by the angel. So he fought this angel all night, and the angel changed Jacob's name to Yisrael. And we see this also in another place in the Torah, that God changed Abraham's name and Sarah's name, but Abraham's name changed both of their names from Abraham to Avraham. And he never went back again. God never calls him, after that name change, we never revert back to Avram again. His name is always Avraham, which is not the case with Jacob, Yaakov. His name was changed to Yisrael, and the Torah calls him again Yaakov. Here's one example. Here's an example. Right? This happened 300 years, something like that, after God changed Jacob's name. This is after Jacob lived 300 years afterwards, something like that. And now he's saying, he's calling them both names, Jacob and Yisrael. Okay, so the Rebbe says, in order to understand what's going on over here, what this means to us, why he calls them two names and why tents and what's dwellings and what's this. So the Rebbe says that the reason that God is creating the world, right? According Chassidut points out that God did not just start creating the world a long time ago, and that's it, right? He created the. I'm sorry, God just created the world a long time ago, 5,700 whatever it is, 85 years ago. According to Chabad, that was exactly that time, 5,875 and years ago. It's just, as soon as it's going to be 76, another few months. 5,786 years ago, God started creating the world, but he's been creating ever since. We've talked about this a lot of times because before 5,786 years ago, there was no time. There was no time. Time did not exist before God created the world. Space did not exist. There was no time. There was no space. There was no consciousness. There was no anything. All there was pure God. What does that mean? We have absolutely no way of knowing what that is, but that's the way it is now also, because everything is being created from nothing. Why is God doing this, creating everything from nothing? Why is he doing it? Because he wants a world. Why God wants it, I don't know, but that's what he wants. He wants a world. Why does God want a world? So that we'll transform it and put the Jews into the world so that we will transform the Jews and makes the world, the Jews will transform the world and make something new. We have to transform the Jews also to wake the Jews up, but transform the world and make something, so to speak, that God himself could not make. A whole new thing that we can change our nature. God purposely made man in God's image so that we can also have the option of thinking that we're God, which everybody takes that option. Because that's the way God created the world, that we feel that we're the real existence. And if God exists, maybe in the shul and in the church, in the mosque or somewhere far away, he exists, somewhere over the rainbow or something like that. God exists, and then maybe he'll listen to our prayers and this. So Chassidut comes and tells us, no, it's not so. That's also true. God is infinitely further away than Alice. What is it called? What was it? Than over the rainbow. God is infinitely farther than he's higher than the spiritual worlds. Infinitely more distance than that. In Chassidut, in Kabbalah, it's explained there's all these worlds and levels that are above spiritual. But before it was called before the Tzimtzum. Well, God is beyond that also. But the same God is creating us and cares about each one of us. That's why he gave the Torah. We'll learn about that in a second. The Torah. That's the God of Israel. The God of Israel is above all being, creates all being, is totally unaffected by the world, by anything, because it's really nothing. The world is nothing. And at the same time, the world is infinitely important to God. Every detail is important. Every detail is important. Who's going to make this link up between the infiniteness of God and every detail? That's the Jews. The Jews are supposed to be here doing the Torah, doing the commandments, and that is going to change the world, right? It's pretty simple until you start actually doing it. As soon as you get into reality, then you realize it's really nice in the books, but in reality, there's all sorts of, temptations and delays and confusion and egotism and etc. competition that suddenly make you forget totally about this whole idea. It's just too hard. The only ones that sort of got it, and we've got examples. One perfect example is King David. King David was a person that was totally involved in the world. Read the book of Psalms one time. You'll see that the troubles, the problems that King David had were unending because King David dealt with the world and he brought godliness into the world. So you would think a person like King David, he would just, be perfect and he would be talking about how we get into heaven all the time and everything like that. Not so. King David's main thing was fixing up the world, not being affected negatively by his enemies, thinking about God all the time. So that's what we have to do. We have to be in the world, but be connected to the creator and the reason for the creation all the time. That's called doing TSHUVA. TSHUVA means returning your consciousness to awareness of the creator. Good. So the Rebbe said up to now that there's three ways of doing this. Three ways. One is each one deeper and more encompassing and more positive than the other. Step number one is turning away from bad. Stopping egotism, putting an end to egotism, stopping bad. That's like the negative commandments. That's relevant to the name of Elokim. Bringing God inside of us. One second. Close the door. It's already closed. Okay. Sorry. That's called the name Elokim. That's what we say, Elokeinu. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu. Blessed are you, God. Elokeinu, our God. Our God. You bring God, so to speak. You realize that God is creating me. God is my life. God is my power. How can I do bad things if God is doing me so much good? That's turning from bad. Step number one. Step number two, doing good. Step number two, that's deeper. That's relevant to the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Not just being satisfied with not doing bad, which that's also an amazing accomplishment, not doing anything bad. But God didn't put us in the world only to defy the world and get out of the world. No, God put us in the world in order to fix up the world. So we have to do good. Do good. We have to feel good. We have to have love for God. We have to have love for others. We have to have love for the world. We have to do positive things. That corresponds to the positive commandments. That corresponds to the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Baruch atah Hashem, Hashem Elokeinu. Elokeinu, that's bringing God inside of us, our God. That's the prohibitions. We're inspired by God instead of by the world. That's the prohibitions. Step number two is the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, doing positive things, being connected to the level of God, which is above the world. That's the second. The third type of tshuva, the Rebbe says there's three. The third type of tshuva is connecting to the essence of God. Here we go. Let's go. We did this yesterday. Get off to a late state of, okay. So it says the third type of tshuva, let's see where we get up to here. Yeah. So it says the third type of tshuva is la'atzmut, the essence of God. That's the essence of God. This is to godliness, which is above sovev kolmim, above how God surrounds the world. So that corresponds to the positive commandments. And how God fills the worlds. That's the prohibitions. And that's what's hinted at when the Jewish people went over the Yam Suf. Ad Yavor Amcha Hashem, Ad Yavor. 2 times the Jewish people went higher and higher. Shuvo Elai, that means returning to me. And then God says, and then I will return to you. That's going to God's essence. So we have the prohibitions, that's turning from bad, that corresponds to the name Elokim. Then we have doing good, that corresponds to the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is above the world, higher than the creation. And then we have God's essence, which is higher than both, and that's by means of learning the Torah. Why? Because the commandments all come from the Torah. The Torah is God's inner will. That's Averim, that's Averim Pnimi. That's like in a human being, there are inner limbs, like your heart, etc. The commandments are like your outer limbs, right? Refraining from things in action, doing things in action. And the Torah, that's like your brain, your heart. That's the inner limbs. That's when God gave the Torah, then he revealed a higher level than just Elokecha, your God. That's the prohibitions. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, that's the positive commandments. He revealed a level which is called Anochi, his essence. Oh. So that's what it says, that these three, let me just jump down a little bit here. All right. That's these three are from Baruch. We say every blessed. Baruch. The letters Baruch are Beit, Reish, Chaf. Reish, Reish. If you arrange them in, I'm going to call it numerical order, there's ones, tens, and hundreds. Beit is 2, Chaf is 20, Reish is 200. These three levels of tshuva that we just referred to, this refers, this can also is hinted at by these three letters. That's three, and you say levels of reality, each one more real than the other. Prohibitions, negative commandments, positive commandments, and Torah. Becher. These are yechidot, asiriot, umeot. This is what's called ones, tens, and hundreds. The beit, that's yechidot. That's number 2. Chaf is 20, 20. Assyria. And the reish is 200, is 2 with 2 zeros. This is because this corresponds to these 3 types of tshuva, correspond to these 3 levels of the soul. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. This also corresponds to the 3 levels of the world's dimensions, Asiya, Yetzira, and Bria. And it corresponds to Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. Okay, in any case, this pretty much encompasses the whole entire creation. All of the worlds, all the levels of our soul, all the aspects of the Torah, negative commandments, positive commandments, the Torah itself. Shetzorich levararum, our job here in the world is to refine, ulataknam, and to fix them up, and to elevate them above by means of these 3 types of tshuva. 3 types of tshuva. Okay, what does it mean to elevate them? What does it mean to elevate? So we've given a lot of examples in this class. But let's just take a simple example. Let's say you have a puzzle. We've given this example before. You have a puzzle, right? And you bring it home, and here's the puzzle. And now you have, let's say, 3 options that you can do with this puzzle, right? One is good options, good options. Number 1, don't throw it away, right? You have a big puzzle. You buy your children a puzzle. Here, I brought you a present, kids, a puzzle. It's a big picture of, the Jerusalem, 50,000 piece puzzle, 50,000 piece puzzle. You open it up, and there's like 1 million pieces in there. And the instructions are only 50,000 of these pieces are relevant, and the rest of them you have to discard. So that's like the world. The world is a confused place. That's the way God created it. I mean, Adam also helped when he did the sin, but God created it in a way, and it's like a puzzle that's all confused. There's parts that don't belong there at all that you have to ignore, and the other parts you have to put together, right? So let's say you get this picture. It's a big picture of Jerusalem, for instance, right? And so you open it up. So step number 1 is, just throw the thing away, or maybe pick out little pieces that you like. Oh, here's a piece. Here's a blue. I like that. Here's green. So step number 1, you want to fix it up. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. That's like the negative commandments, the prohibitions. Don't do anything wrong. Step number 2, do start putting it together. That's the positive commandments. Put it together, right? Put it together. Step number 3, you put it together and you realize, hey, this is not just a regular puzzle. This is a genuine Rembrandt picture. This is a genuine Rembrandt picture. Look, here's this. Somebody cut this thing up. Right? This thing must be worth millions, hundreds of millions. Who knows how much? Right? Who knows how much this thing is worth? It's the same thing that we're supposed to do with the world. No, I'm making this up. Don't throw it away. Right? Don't disregard the fact that it's supposed to be put together. Don't wreck the world up. That's turning from bad. Negative commandment. Start putting it together. That's the positive commandments. Then suddenly you see the whole principle. This world is made by God. That's even better than Rembrandt. That's even higher than Lahavdil, right? That's like the 3rd level of tshuva. So turning from bad, doing good, and realizing who you're working for, right? The essence of God, feel it. Okay, so that's these 3 types of tshuva. That corresponds. That's what we're supposed to do with the world. You're in the world. What are you supposed to do with the world? Either you can just disregard the Torah and do whatever you want to. That's an option, right? Or you can start to do tshuva. Tshuva, number one, don't do what you want. Don't do what you want, right? Refrain from what God forbids. Don't follow your, try to follow what God says, number one. Number two, do, yes, what God wants, the Creator. Not just refrain from what God forbids. Do what God wants. Step number three is to really feel that it's all God's world. The whole big thing is a big miracle. And we can, when doing the commandments, we're making sense out of the whole thing. It's like putting the puzzle together. Suddenly the whole thing makes sense. The whole world is this beautiful, beautiful place. And everyone in it is part of this amazing, miraculous puzzle that God has made. So that's this level 3 tshuvas. Okay, let's go. The parish, what does it mean? The first one is turning from bad. This is the level of nefesh. This is what's called asiya, action, right? And there's refrain. Don't do what you want. He karuva. This is close to chet gomer. This is closer to the lowest level of doing sins, because the world, the physical world, is krov, is very close to what's called klippa and chitzonim, which this is the Yetzer Hora. Therefore, the soul of a asiya, the lowest type of levels of souls, least sensitive, it could be doing sins. Nefesh ki chata, that's the level of nefesh, that it does sins, right? A person that all he has is this world. So it's very tempting for him to say, why shouldn't I drive my motorcycle on Shabbos? Why shouldn't I do it? I really like it. That's what I really like. He says, no, don't do it. Why? Because God doesn't want you to do it. God doesn't. Okay, I'll do it, but he does it. He suffers, but he's willing to suffer. Willing to suffer. Realize, listen, I could drive it on another day, ready, but he has to keep convincing himself all the time, right? All the guys are sitting at this Shabbos table, whatever. His wife says, "What's all that noise outside?" He looks out the window. It's all his biker friends are out there. Hey, Sam, come on, drive. Let's go. We're making a run today. We're driving the 50 miles up the mountains. Oh, he wants to. He's yearning to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. That's step number one, turning from bad. But he's close to doing bad. So that's the lowest level. His tshuva is lakor ratzono, to remove his desire from what God calls bad. And by means of removing your desire, you arouse above shalo yimshel chayot. There won't be any life drawn to the chitzonim, out of the external worlds, right? All of his biker friends can say, "Here, look, here's our one of our members is a Jew. He drives on Shabbos, so Shabbos is no different than any other day, right? Saturday is just like Monday. It's just like anything else, right?" And this Jew says, "No, I'm not going to drive on Shabbos. Why? Because Shabbos is a special day." So they say, "Listen, these Jews are crazy. They're nuts." One of the other bikers says, "The Jews have been doing this for 3,300 years. They haven't been, of course, because they haven't been motorcycles at that. No, they also haven't been riding horses on the. They really believe that God created the world in 6 days, and that God, who believes in God? Not only they believe in God, they believe that God creates the world. And that already starts to elevate the world. Suddenly you realize the world is not just this little ball, marble floating around in a meaningless, heaven, the meaningless, whatever it is, the vacuum, right? That suddenly it's meaningful. God is creating. That's step number one. Step number two. The second tshuva is shel bechinat ruach. That there's nefesh and ruach and neshama. Ruach, level of ruach, or bechinat yitzira. That's what's called the level of yitzira. The first level is asiya, and above that is yitzira. That's doing good. The third level, that's what we're talking about now. He shel bechinat neshama. That's like the level of ruach and yitzira. Nefesh, ruach, higher than asiya is yitzira. The third level is, that's what the Rebbe is getting to here, is the level of neshama. The level of neshama, therefore you have to return even deeper. The essence of your heart. Who am I really? Really what I am. Ki nefilato gadola mishaneim. Because this, the highest level, the essence of Judaism, this has fallen down lower than the other two. To turn away from bad is, you have to use your powers of action. To start doing good, you have to already motivate yourself to do positive things. But the third level is that's learning the Torah. That is something which is very easy to, how do you say, very difficult. Let's put it this way. It's very difficult to bring into the world, right? The what they call it, the shaming of the Torah is the easiest of all. Shaming of the Torah, right? That's the Torah has fallen down the lowest. That's why you see it's very interesting. I mean, there's all sorts of philosophies in the world, right? Philosophies in the world. Usually, the other religions, the first thing they knock at is the commandments. But when it really gets down to it, the real enemy of egotism is the Torah. It says when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, it says it's called Sinai because Sinai is similar to the word of Sina. Word Sina means hatred. When God gave the Torah at Sinai, there came hatred to the world. The world hates us. Why? Because in the Torah, it gives directions from God to everyone in the world. So it means the world is important and every human being is important and God is active in the world and God is telling us what to do and God is creating us. You can't get away from God. He's creating you and God is infinitely good. And God is telling you what you have to do. There's good and bad. And what happens if you do bad? You see what happens. Absolutely nothing. You have to do it from yourself. So everybody says, well, if you go against the Torah, you become successful. So therefore, everybody says, who needs it? But there's a little handful of Jews that say, no, the Torah is true. And everyone says, listen, let's get rid of these guys. They're bothering us. But the Torah is true. You can't just do what you want to. That's why it says the falling of the Torah is the deepest, and therefore it's more difficult to return to the giver of the Torah than it is to do the commandments. Come on, Adam, like it says in Rav Magid, like the Magid said, the Machshava Zoros, like the Magid said, that the bad thoughts of tzaddikim, this makes more damage to the world, the avonos chamoros, than the bad sins of the simple people. That's what it means, that around it is very, very stormy. Okay, here we got, listen to this. So here we go. There's some people, for instance, that say the Holocaust was caused by the evil people. It was caused by the Jews that have left the Torah. It's caused by this. So the Maggid of Mezrich said there's more damage done to the world by the negative thoughts of the totally holy Jews than is done by the negative actions of the totally not holy Jews. The Jews that have totally left Torah, left commandments, everything, and they do, very serious sins. That wrecks the world, right? The Maggid of Mezrich says the bad thoughts of the righteous people do more damage. What type of bad thoughts can there be? Hating other Jews. All of a sudden, once in a while, comes up a jealousy of somebody, right? He said that does more damage. Why? Because the higher that a person is, the more effect that it has in the world. Just imagine the president of the United States gets up on television and he says, something. I want to give an example that's not too that is befitting to a rabbi, right? Because he stands up in the Torah and he swears, makes a stupid, ridiculous comment, says something bad about the blacks, says something bad about the Jews, says something evil about the whatever it is, some sort of race, right? A little innuendo, something like that, a little motion, right? Or he makes a dirty motion or something like that. A thing like that, it says if he does it, but there's all these other rock and roll stars and these people, right? They do these things all the time. Nobody says anything about them. Movie stars, they can say anything they want to. Right? But the president, he's the highest. He's supposed to be pristine. Everybody demands from him. Right? He's supposed to be great. Right? You see in the world, for instance, homosexuality is okay. But if they find that the president of the United States is, or the president of this country, he's a homosexual, this is terrible. This shows the person is degraded. Why? You're not supposed to say anything bad about it. You see that if somebody is in a high situation, a high place, then much more is being expected from him. Much is more expected. That's why he says the bad thoughts of the totally righteous people, they do more damage than anyone else. Right? Anyone else. Omer Zal, the rabbi says, so we learn that God is very, very exact. Therefore, this third level of tshuva is much more difficult to achieve because it's much more, how do you say, demanding to actually be realize the giver of the Torah. Okay, another Rebbe is bringing all sorts of Kabbalistic ideas. Okay, these three letters of Beit, Chaf, Reish, which is singles, tens, and hundreds. So singles, that's like the lowest level. That's nefesh. That's turning from bad. And Chaf is 10. That's singles. There's Chaf is tens. That's 20. That corresponds to doing good. And the Reish is 200. That's the highest. It says in the 200s, that corresponds to the level of neshama. That's the level of bria. And bria, that's the level of neshama. Every one of the sphirot is 10 and another 10. It's the lights are much higher and powerful in the higher worlds. In Yetzirah, there's only each sphera, it contains only 10. And in Asiya, there's just the sphera itself, so to speak, just the point alone. Like it says in Eitz Chaim. Okay, let's get here. We got one second. These three letters are also hinting at the singles, tens, and hundreds, and the blessings. When we make all the blessings, Hainu, three types of reaction that we get from God. It says, we say, Baruch, blessed, Atah, Hashem, Elokeinu. Oh, so Atah, that's God's essence. Hashem, that's how God surrounds the worlds. Elokeinu, we said, that's how God is in the world. Elokeinu is turning from bad. Yudke Vavke is doing good. And Ata, that's God, your essence, that's the Torah. This is hinted at the words Baruch, making a blessing. That's what it means, called Kaddish called Bachor. That's what it means when you say, sanctify for me. Yes, just one second. That's right. Sanctify for me, and that all of these three worlds, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, will all be made holy by means of this. Okay, by means of returning from bad, doing good, and connecting to the source of the Torah. Source of the Torah. That's why it says Yafeh Sha'achat. That's why it's better one instant of doing tshuva in this world than all the other worlds. Because in this world we can return, we have free will. In the upper worlds, you can't make any choices anymore. Whatever you did, right? A person after he dies goes to heaven. That whatever he did, that's what there is. Until there'll be the raising of the dead. So that's the idea of tshuva. Okay, now let's go to another page. Let's see, 1 second. 1 minute. Here we go. It's pretty interesting, but we're going to have to skip a little bit because I want to make progress over here. And okay. What happened? What happened? 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. I went too far. I went too far. What happened? 1 second. I made a mistake over there. I see. I see what I did. Okay, I really wanted to start. Okay, that's the Torah. Good, good. Okay, I did okay. I was doing right. Here we go. Okay, that's it. Here we go. So, what happened here? What happened here? Somehow, I see. I got up there. I'm sorry. 1 second. I got confused over here. Good. All right. We have put an end to confusion. Now, okay. Here we go. No, it looks like it's not somehow or other. That's it. That's good. 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 Okay. Oh, okay. So these are the types of three types of tshuva: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. That's singles, tens, and hundreds. Also, later on, we didn't explain this, so it's called a nakuda, and a sphera, and a partzuf. A nakuda, that means each sphere is a point. That's like it was in tohu. And a sphera, that means each one is contained of 10. And partzuf is each one is contained of 100. That corresponds to bria, yetzir, and asiya. Kodesh li, that's called bachor. We said that before. And by means of this we didn't get to yet. By means of this, we draw down, we evoke. Godliness helps us. Up to now, we've only been talking about what God does, about what we do. I'm sorry, what we do. Shalom, good morning. 1 minute. Here we go. We're coming, but there you go. Okay, that's good. Up to now, we've been talking about what we do. But what about what God does? So God always reacts to what we do. That's a very basic principle of Chassidut, especially Chabad. God always reacts to what we do. Maybe that reaction doesn't come into the physical world. It will in the days of the Moshiach and the raising of the dead. That's going to be one of the things that's going to cause the raising of the dead, is what we actually do in this physical world. But meanwhile, it says God does react to what we do, and that's what it means doing tshuva. That's a better type of light. And this is relevant also by the letters of Beit, 2, 20, and 200. That's the letters Rechev. Rechev means a vehicle, a vessel. Be'arvus Rechev Elokim Nar Kavar. It says a river Kavar. It's like a river that God reacts to what we do in singles. That's what we turn from bad. In 20s, that's doing good. And the hundreds, that's how we attach to the essence of God. This is by means of tshuva. So by means of doing tshuva is drawn these three levels into the world, also called achoti, rayoti, and imi, and my mother. And we're going to get to these together a second. That what's the point the Rebbe wants to get to over here? God of Israel, he creates all being constantly. He cares about all being constantly, every detail, and he reacts to what we do constantly. And that's what we want to see. That's the idea of Mashiach. He's going to bring everyone in the world, Jews first, to do and to think what God wants. And when that happens, then we'll see how important every detail of this physical world and every human being in this physical world is to God. And then it'll be important to us as well. We'll realize that we're living in an amazing, miracle, miraculous, blessed, happy world. But it all depends now on the work that we do in turning from bad, doing good, and connecting to the essence of the Torah. As we're going to continue tomorrow, because we haven't gotten to the point yet of why the meaning of this blessing that the evil Bilam gave. How good are your tents, Jacob and Yisrael? This is also going to hint at these three levels also. Your tents, Jacob, and your dwellings, Yisrael. We'll see. That's this three types of tshuva that we've been talking about, which we can do. Let's now learn the Davar Malchut.